Welcome to Carrie and Kaitlyn's YouTube Chronicles, proudly brought to you by Book at Bed, where bedtime stories aren't just read, they're lived. This is the tale of two best friends, Carrie, the calm and clever storyteller, and Kaitlyn, the wild spark of energy with a laugh that could power a windmill. Together, they turn everyday farm life into a whirlwind of creativity, comedy, and chaos. With a pony named AJ, who thinks he's a celebrity, he kind of is, they launch a channel from a dusty old shed and suddenly find themselves building a crew, full of kids, fans, and dreamers just like you. So whether you're here for belly laughs, bedtime magic, or just to see what AJ knocks over next, Book at Bed welcomes you. Get cozy, get ready. Let the Chronicles begin. It was one of those slow, golden mornings on the farm, the kind where even the air feels like it's stretching, yawning into the day. The sun hadn't quite crept over the line of trees yet, but its light had already spilled across the fields, turning everything it touched into honey. Inside the old wooden barn, the world felt paused. Dust floated lazily in the air, caught in glowing beams of light slicing through the open doors. I was perched on a creaky stool beside Daisy the cow, her soft, warm belly pressed gently against my arm. The metal milk pail rang with every careful squirt, and the barn echoed only with the sound of breath, mine, Daisy's, and the rhythm of a place that knows how to be still. Every now and then Daisy flicked her tail. It was like she was brushing away more than just flies. Maybe my thoughts too. Meanwhile, Kaitlyn was doing her usual anti-stillness routine. She paced back and forth in her red sporty top and navy shorts, poking at bits of straw with a stick like she was some kind of barnyard scientist. Her blonde ponytail swung wildly, matching the energy that never seemed to sleep inside her. I could see it in her eyes, a storm of thoughts building to lightning. Then she stopped, right in front of me, hands on hips, eyes glowing. "Carrie," she announced, her voice brimming with that Kaitlyn brand of certainty. "We should start a YouTube channel." I paused mid-milk. "A what?" Her grin was huge. "A channel, where we read stories, talk about the farm, interview the hens, show off AJ being his usual nutcase self. And speak of the devil, AJ, my cheeky little brown New Forest pony, poked his head through the open barn door like he'd been listening the whole time. He snorted once, loud and proud, his ears flicking forward in what I'm pretty sure was mock offense. We both laughed. And that's when it happened, a moment you don't notice until later. That flash of something exciting, something big. An idea planted right there, between milk pails and straw, like a magic seed waiting to grow. Kaitlyn didn't wait for me to say yes, which, if you know Kaitlyn, is basically her default setting. She was already pacing in manic little circles, arms flailing like she was conducting an invisible orchestra made entirely of glitter and good ideas. "We could call it Carrie and Kaitlyn's Chronicles," she said, voice fizzing like lemonade on a hot day. "We'd read our books out loud, maybe even do silly voices, and we could film AJ's great escapes when he breaks into the vegetable patch again." I raised an eyebrow. "Only if we blur his face. He's got a right to privacy." From the barn doorway, AJ snorted, loud and offended, then turned dramatically and trotted off like a diva storming out of an interview. Kaitlyn spun on her heel to face me, her hands frozen mid-gesture, her eyes wide and filled with that dangerous sparkle that usually meant something was about to explode. "Come on, Carrie! Imagine it! Other kids watching our videos, leaving comments like, 'Wow, Carrie's cow voice is amazing!'" I tried to play it cool. Or, who knew AJ was secretly a ninja in a pony suit? That did it. We both collapsed into laughter, the kind that makes your stomach hurt and your cheeks go sore, right there in the middle of the straw. Daisy flicked her tail with deep disapproval, and a couple of hens nearby clucked and flapped like we were disturbing their morning routine. But in that moment, it didn't matter, because the idea wasn't just a joke anymore. It had legs, it had sparkle, it had AJ's dramatic exit, and that meant it had already begun. After the laughter finally settled, and after AJ had stomped off with a kind of flair that only a slightly insulted pony could manage, Kaitlyn did something very Kaitlyn. She reached into her backpack and pulled out her tablet like a magician, revealing her next big trick. "I've been watching videos," she said, already swiping and tapping like she'd rehearsed this moment 100 times. "There are loads of kids' channels, slime, pranks, toy reviews, but hardly anyone's doing what we do. You know, books, farm stuff, actual silly things with heart." I leaned in. The screen lit up her face like campfire glow, and on it, some kid was unboxing a massive plastic dinosaur, the kind that looks like it should come with a warning label and its own postcode. It roared through the barn in a burst of sound before Kaitlyn hurriedly tapped mute. "Right, ignore that one," she said, scrunching her nose. "But imagine our stories, the real ones, the ones we write ourselves. We could dress up as characters, add sound effects, even do would-you-rather questions between chapters." That made me pause. Kaitlyn's ideas usually arrive like fireworks, full of colour, a little smoke, and the occasional risk of eyebrow loss. But this one? This one was different. It wasn't just flashy, it glowed. "We'd need a name. Something snappy," I murmured, still picturing AJ in a cape reading poetry. Kaitlyn didn't miss a beat. "Already sorted. Carrie and Kaitlyn's YouTube Chronicles. You're the calm, clever one, I'm the loud, bonkers one, it's balance." She wasn't wrong. I was the quiet page-turner, she was the megaphone, and somehow we just worked. Once Kaitlyn gets an idea, it's like trying to stop a hurricane with a fly swatter. Subtlety? Not her thing. By the time I'd blinked, she was already dragging me toward the farmhouse, her tablet clutched under one arm like it was top-secret launch codes. "We need a name banner, a channel icon, and a theme song," she rattled off, stomping across the gravel like she was hosting the YouTube Olympics. Something catchy, but not cringe. Maybe AJ can neigh in it. "He doesn't neigh," I muttered, half jogging to keep up. "He screams like a goat being chased by a lawnmower." We burst into the kitchen, where Dad was already halfway into his morning ritual, fixing something while trying not to burn breakfast. The table was a battlefield of wires, adapters, and mysterious gadgets that looked like they belonged in a spy film. Steam puffed gently from the kettle, and sunlight poured through the window, bouncing off buttered toast crumbs and the mess of DIY tech magic. "Dad," I said, with that special kind of dramatic pause meant for big announcements, "we want to start a YouTube channel." He didn't even blink. Just popped his toast from the toaster with a ding and nodded like we'd told him we were reorganizing sock drawers. "All right," he said calmly. "Let's set you up a proper studio. I've got a spare webcam in the shed and a ring light in the garage." Kaitlyn's face lit up like she'd just been handed a Nobel Prize. "Your dad's a legend," she breathed. I smirked. "He thinks he's a YouTuber because he once uploaded a video of AJ sneezing and it got 71 views. Dad, still chewing toast, pointed at the screen like a lawyer in court. "That pony owes me royalties." And that was it. With one sarcastic toast comment and a shed full of wires, the idea suddenly became real. By lunchtime, the shed out back, once full of spiderwebs, tools, and mysterious farm smells, had been transformed into something magical. Kaitlyn stood in the middle of it, hands on hips, grinning like she'd just directed a blockbuster. "Welcome to Studio C&K," she announced proudly, even though it still smelled faintly of old wellies and sheep feed. Dad had run a long cable from the kitchen window, looping it through the hedge like a slightly confused jungle vine. He set up a tripod in one corner and handed us an old desk lamp, saying, "You'll want a spotlight." It was covered in cobwebs, but Kaitlyn wiped it off with the sleeve of her shirt like a pro. AJ stood in the doorway the whole time, like a skeptical bouncer guarding a VIP room. He sniffed at the camera equipment, gave the tripod a doubtful snort, and made it very clear he was waiting for his creative credit. Inside, we arranged the hay bales like a tiny theatre set. Books, our favourites, were stacked behind us like props in a story-loving castle. Kaitlyn taped a cardboard sign to the wall covered in so much glitter glue it could be seen from space. "Carrie and Kaitlyn's Chronicles. Like and subscribe." She spelled subscribe with an extra E, but the sparkle made it hard to argue. Our first video? A dramatic retelling of the time AJ got his head stuck in a bucket and, in full panic, thought he'd gone blind, even though the bucket was see-through. Kaitlyn clicked the camera on, lifted it like a director on set, and nodded. "Test recording. Let's roll." I sat down on my hay bale, adjusted my green t-shirt, and cleared my throat like a proper storyteller. Once upon a time. That's when it happened. AJ let out the loudest, most operatic, ear-shattering whinny right next to the microphone. It echoed off the walls like a foghorn in a shoebox. I jumped so hard I nearly tumbled backwards off the bale. Kaitlyn didn't stop filming. Of course she didn't. She just laughed, steadied the camera, and whispered, "That's going in the blooper reel." We watched the video back in what can only be described as a very serious production meeting, which meant we were sitting on overturned buckets, chewing jam sandwiches, and pretending to be fancy film critics. The sound quality? Absolutely awful. Every time the fridge in the kitchen clicked on, the lighting in the shed flickered like we were shooting a horror movie. AJ's whinny, which in the moment felt like thunder, now sounded more like a goose being attacked by a kazoo. But somehow it worked. We laughed so hard we nearly inhaled our sandwiches. Kaitlyn dropped her tablet twice. I had jam on my chin. But we couldn't stop replaying AJ's dramatic entrance, the way I jumped, the unfiltered chaos of it all. "It's perfect," Kaitlyn gasped between fits of laughter, tears streaking her cheeks. "Unscripted. Authentic. Chaos. It's us!" I wasn't so sure. We should probably do another take. Nope. She shoved the last bite of sandwich into her mouth like a toast to our future. This is gold. Real kids don't want polished. They want real. AJ's basically our brand now. I looked down at the book in my lap, then at Kaitlyn, who was still wiping jam off her nose, then over at AJ, who was trying to eat the corner of our glittery like and subscribe sign with what I could only describe as unearned confidence. "You think people will actually watch us?" I asked. Kaitlyn's grin softened. She nodded, serious for once. "If we keep being ourselves, yeah, but we'll have to ask them." "Ask them what?" She climbed onto her bucket like a commander preparing for battle. To like, to comment, to subscribe. Her voice boomed like she was on a stage. "We go viral, or we go home." Then, of course, she fell off the bucket. The jam sandwich survived. Barely. We uploaded the video that evening, right after the sun dipped behind the hills and the barn turned the colour of warm toast. Kaitlyn typed furiously on her tablet, eyes gleaming with the intensity of someone launching a rocket. She titled it, and I quote, "Our pony ruined Storytime, real-life farm chaos," and loaded the description with every hashtag she could think of. Pony life, girls who read, AJ the legend, and even glitterfail. Catchy titles, strategic hashtags, that's how we grow, she said like she had a meeting with YouTube executives first thing in the morning. I was more concerned with whether my hair looked like a haystack and whether AJ's sneeze had completely nuked the microphone. Then came the moment. Kaitlyn hovered her finger over the screen like she was about to detonate a glitter bomb. She clicked publish. And we just stared. The screen did nothing fancy. No fireworks, no confetti, just a quiet little line of text. Video uploaded. "Well," I said, arms folded, "either we just made internet history or gave AJ a criminal record." 5 minutes later, we had our first view. Kaitlyn leaned in close, squinting like a spy. That's probably my nan. Then another view. Then another. 17 views by bedtime. You'd think it was 17,000 the way Kaitlyn beamed. "Carrie, this is how it starts." And just to seal the moment, AJ, as if on cue, let out a heavy, theatrical sigh and knocked over the tripod with his backside. History indeed. By the next morning, something weird had happened. Not creepy weird, more like magic weird. We had 62 views. 62. That's 2 entire classrooms, or every single person in the village, plus AJ, twice. Even better. Someone left a comment. Kaitlyn spotted it first and nearly dropped her toast. She grabbed the tablet and read it aloud with the kind of drama normally reserved for Shakespearean theatre. This made me laugh so hard. That pony is wild. Subscribed. Rainbow Skater 123. We shrieked. No shame. Full-on barn owl screech. AJ came trotting over in a panic, probably expecting snacks or a squirrel invasion. Instead, we launched ourselves into a hug around his neck and told him, very seriously, that he was now a global icon. He sneezed in response, which felt on brand. Kaitlyn didn't waste a second. She snatched up a notebook, eyes blazing with purpose. "Right, time to plan episode 2. We need structure. We need segments. We need, wait for it, catchphrases." I smirked. "What, like, 'Hey guys, what's up?'" I mimed holding a mic. Kaitlyn shook her head with mock disgust. "Too boring. We need us." Then, in her best TV host voice, she grinned and scribbled the phrase into her notebook with a flourish. "Books, ponies, and belly laughs, welcome to the Chronicles." I tilted my head, let it sink in. And you know what? It was kind of brilliant. The next video had everything. And I mean everything. A brand new story about AJ getting stuck in the chicken coop, which, to be fair, he started by chasing a suspicious-looking feather. Kaitlyn brought the drama with sound effects that ranged from kazoo impressions to what I think was supposed to be a hiccuping cow. Still undecided. Midway through, we paused for a would you rather break, because according to Kaitlyn, every great episode needs audience participation. Would you rather be a cow with hiccups or a chicken that sneezes glitter? It sparked a debate that may or may not have ended with AJ sneezing glitter anyway. We filmed it outside this time, under the old oak tree, the one with bark like dragon scales and a perfect patch of shade. It was the only way to keep AJ from pulling his signature move. Wandering into the shed and unplugging the microphone like he was cutting us off mid-sentence. Honestly, it went better than we expected. Kaitlyn only fell off her hay bale once. AJ only tried to eat the tripod twice. That, for us, was progress. We wrapped the video with our brand new catchphrase, both of us shouting it into the open sky like we were weird farm superheroes, which we kinda were. Books, ponies and belly laughs. Welcome to the Chronicles. Right on cue, AJ let out a massive sneeze, right into the camera. Glitter may have been involved. Perfect ending, Kaitlyn declared, brushing hay off her shorts like nothing unusual had happened. And for the first time it really hit us. This thing we were doing, this wild, messy, totally us YouTube channel, it didn't feel so little anymore. Later that afternoon, Kaitlyn came sprinting into the barn like it was on fire, or like she'd just discovered buried treasure. She held her tablet above her head like it was glowing. Carrie, you're not going to believe this. I wiped my hands on my leggings. I'd been brushing AJ, who somehow now had more grass in his tail than there was in the actual field. He looked smug about it, like it was a fashion choice. We hit 1.2k views, Kaitlyn said. I blinked. As in, 1,200? She nodded, grinning so wide it looked like her cheeks might snap off. And 12 comments, 12, from actual kids, not just my cousin pretending to be Banana Fan 78. It was like the barn air turned to sparkles. People were watching, people we didn't even know, people from places like Sheffield and Glasgow and Canada. We had to pull out a map for that one. We sat on the hay bales, shoulder to shoulder, scrolling through the comments. I love your stories. AJ is the best pony ever. Can you do a bloopers video? Right then, AJ tripped over a bucket with the kind of timing you only see in movies. The bucket flipped, Kaitlyn's water bottle flew through the air, and AJ looked around like someone else must have done it. I grinned, eyes still on the screen. We've got bloopers for days. And that was the moment it really hit us. People weren't just watching. They were with us. By the next day, Kaitlyn had somehow turned our humble little shed studio into something that looked suspiciously like a command center. She arrived at the barn with a clipboard, a whiteboard nearly twice her size, and an armful of color-coded markers, the kind teachers use when they mean business. She slammed the whiteboard down like she was hosting a TED Talk for squirrels. We need a content strategy, she declared, tapping it with her marker like it was a baton. Mondays, book reads. Wednesdays, pony problems. Fridays, would you rather? Live. I blinked. Did you just say live? Kaitlyn grinned. Yep, real-time AJ, real-time chaos. He's basically the farm's answer to Mr. Beast. Right on cue, AJ trotted by with a sock in his mouth like it was a trophy. Without warning, he sneezed, hard, spraying glitter across the whiteboard and nearly erasing live with snot. I wiped sparkles off my cheek. Okay, maybe he's more like the farm's answer to absolute chaos. Still, I couldn't help but smile. We weren't just two girls with a camera anymore. We had fans, we had a schedule, we had a very soggy whiteboard, and somehow, with glitter in our hair, a pony eating props, and plans scribbled in rainbow ink, it felt like we were building something that mattered, something kind of wonderful. And Friday came, and so did our very first Would You Rather Live special. And let me tell you, we were nervous. Not just a little nervous. We're talking knees wobbling, butterflies in the belly, what if no one watches kind of nervous. Dad helped us set up, serious as ever, adjusting the ring light, which, to be clear, was still just an old desk lamp with a sock over it. He triple-checked the Wi-Fi to make sure it wasn't being sabotaged by the toaster again. That had happened once. We don't talk about it. Kaitlyn wore her lucky socks, one stripy, one sparkly, and I wore my calm face, which mostly involved gritting my teeth and pretending not to want to scream into a pillow. We hit the button. We went live. And we waited. At first it was just us, and AJ, and one very determined hen who refused to leave the frame. Then, ping! A message popped up in the live chat. Hi from Scotland. Would you rather ride a flying cow or a surfing llama? We froze. then screamed, then froze again. Kaitlyn leaned forward and typed back with zero hesitation. Llama. No question. Cow udders plus flying equals disaster. AJ snorted. Loudly. It sounded like agreement or judgment. Possibly both. But it didn't matter. We were live. We were laughing. We were absolutely buzzing. And in that moment, in that weird little shed with glitter still stuck to the walls and a hen stealing the spotlight, it felt like the whole world was watching with us. After the live stream, something happened. Something kind of amazing. People started sending ideas, not just thumbs-ups or emojis, but actual story ideas. From kids, from parents, from usernames we didn't recognize but already loved. One message said, "You should do an episode where AJ solves mysteries." Another read, "Tell a story about a magic bucket that grants wishes." And then there was the bold one that simply said, "Please put glitter on a chicken." We looked at the hen. The hen looked at us. Her glare said, "Don't even think about it." Still, it felt different now. Like we weren't just two girls filming in a dusty barn anymore. We were making friends. From Scotland, from Canada, from places we had to Google. And every message felt like a little spark, like someone out there got it. Got us. That night, we sat cross-legged on the barn floor, a torch balanced between two hay bales, its beam flickering against the wood. AJ was snoring in the background like a lawnmower in a thunderstorm. We took turns reading the messages out loud, voices soft but excited, and then Kaitlyn looked up from the tablet, her blue eyes wide and sparkling like she'd just cracked the secret to the universe. "This," she said, "this is what a community looks like. A bunch of weird, brilliant people, just like us." I smiled. "We should call them something." She didn't even hesitate. "Easy," she said. "The Chronicles crew." AJ snorted, rolled over dramatically, and let out a sound that could only be described as a trumpet made of hay and dreams. And that was it. The moment the crew was born. And you know what? It felt just right. The next morning, the barn didn't just smell like hay and horse breath. It felt different. Like the air was buzzing. Like something exciting had taken root and was growing between the wooden beams and dusty rafters. It wasn't because AJ had somehow managed to get a sock stuck on his ear again. Though yes, he had. It was because we had comments, we had ideas, we had inside jokes, we had a crew. So we decided to thank them, the weird, wonderful people who had cheered us on from behind their screens. We filmed a video under the old oak tree, the one with roots like arms and leaves that always caught the sunlight just right. Kaitlyn stood tall, a list of usernames in her hand like she was hosting an awards show. I sat beside her, trying to keep a straight face as the wind tried to steal the paper. To Rainbow Skater 123, Cow Lover 77, and the real Llama Queen, Kaitlyn announced proudly. "You are now official members of the Chronicles crew." Right on cue, AJ, never one to be left out, reached over and tried to eat the paper. Classic. Then I held up our hand-painted cardboard sign, covered in more glitter than was probably safe. "You are the reason this channel is amazing." Kaitlyn leaned into the camera, her grin full of sparkle. "Like, comment and subscribe," she said, "and tell us your wildest would-you-rather question. The weirder the better." AJ snorted loudly, which in AJ language probably meant that he already had a list. And that video, that shout-out under the oak tree, it was more than a thank you, it was a promise. This crew was just getting started. We were on a roll now. The kind of roll where you don't stop to think, you just ride the wave of laughter, chaos and comments. And our next video? It was an instant classic. We called it Pony Problems, which, let's be honest, was just a fancy way of saying AJ being AJ. We filmed him trying to chase his own tail like a confused puppy. Then he got stuck, properly wedged in a wheelbarrow while attempting to reach a bag of oats. And to top it off, he sneezed so violently into a hay bale that he stumbled back, blinking like he'd just time-travelled. Kaitlyn edited in dramatic music, violins, drums, the full action movie treatment. I added captions that read, AJ vs. Gravity, Round 3, and 10-10 Majestic Chaos. The comments rolled in like a stampede. More AJ! Please do a blooper reel. Can AJ do a Q&A? I read that last one out loud, squinting at Kaitlyn. What would that even look like? She didn't hesitate. Easy. We put glasses on him and asked the tough stuff, like what's your opinion on carrots, or is hay better fresh or slightly crunchy? AJ, of course, flicked his tail and strutted off into the field without so much as a glance. Divas, honestly, but the best kind. We honestly thought nothing could top AJ's dramatic walk-off, tail swishing, ego inflated, probably already planning his memoir. But then we posted the blooper reel. It had everything. Kaitlyn tripping over the tripod while shouting "Action!", me mid-sentence, catching a face full of airborne glitter and spluttering like a unicorn sneezing. AJ? Oh, just casually sneezing directly into the camera lens. Twice, with gusto. We added cheesy music, the kind that belongs in bad wedding montages, and slapped on a title so ridiculous it was perfect. The Chronicles, when it all goes wrong. It was chaos. It was honest. It was us. And then it happened. We woke up the next morning to over 1,000 new views. Overnight. Kaitlyn screamed so loud she scared every hen off the porch. I choked on my cereal and may have knocked over the jam. AJ, ever the show stealer. Kicked over a metal bucket and then tried to sit in it, like a cat. A very confused, very large, horse-shaped cat. But the views weren't just climbing. People were sharing it, tagging friends, quoting lines, sending DMs like, "This is the funniest thing I've seen all week." We looked at each other, hearts racing, eyes wild, jam on Kaitlyn's chin, cereal milk on my hoodie. "We're going to need a bigger bucket," I said. She nodded solemnly, and probably a lawyer for AJ. We were viral, and just like AJ, we were not ready for it. After the blooper reel exploded like AJ sneezing into a glitter bomb, we hit our next big milestone, 1.2k subscribers. Kaitlyn printed it out. Not a screenshot, no, an actual sheet of paper with 1,200 subs in bubble letters and 4 exclamation points. She stuck it to the shed wall with glitter glue and a thumbtack, like it was the Mona Lisa. "We're official now," she declared, hands on her hips like she'd just taken over YouTube HQ. I grinned. "Should we celebrate?" "Obviously," she said. "Cake," I nodded. "Cake sounds good. And merch." I paused. "We're 10. Kaitlyn didn't flinch. She whipped out her sketchpad like it was a business pitch to investors. "Listen, AJ t-shirts. Front says nay means nay. Back, glitter hoofprint." I blinked. "Glitter chicken mugs," she continued, flipping the page. "Limited edition. And a hoodie that says books, ponies," belly laughs on the back. Then she revealed her pièce de résistance, a sketch of AJ in sunglasses, wearing a cape, striking a heroic pose with a hoof in the air like a budget superhero. I stared. "Is that a cape?" "Obviously." She said it like, duh, how could it not be? We both collapsed into laughter, practically falling off the hay bale. Then I paused, holding the sketch. "You really think anyone would wear our stuff?" Kaitlyn raised an eyebrow and didn't miss a beat. "Carrie, people buy ferret calendars, anything's possible." Fair point. Things were moving fast. Faster than AJ when he hears the feed bucket. We had fans, actual fans, sending us fan art. Drawings of AJ with sparkles exploding from his nostrils. One of Kaitlyn riding a glitter-covered chicken like it was a fire-breathing dragon. There was even a remix of our blooper reel with techno music. No joke, AJ's sneeze was the beat drop. Dad printed every single piece and hung them in the hallway like it was a museum. He called it the Chronicles Gallery, next to the thermostat. Very prestigious. But the best part, the bit that stopped us both in our tracks, kids started messaging us. Not just with LOL, AJ's a legend, though, yes, that too. They were saying things like, "Your stories made me want to read. I wrote my first poem after watching your video. I didn't think books were fun until now." And suddenly, this little chaotic YouTube channel, full of hay, hens, and glitter accidents, felt bigger, brighter, important. It wasn't just about laughs anymore. It was about connection, about turning "I've never read a book" into "I'm writing one." Kaitlyn sat beside me in the barn that evening, holding the tablet in both hands. She showed me one message that simply read, "Thank you. You made reading fun." She didn't even crack a joke. Didn't shout or flap or suggest we sell glitter chicken lunchboxes. She just smiled, a quiet, soft smile. "We're doing good, Carrie," she said, and for once, I didn't doubt her for a second. Later that evening, we sat on the porch, wrapped in mismatched blankets like two retired rock stars who'd just played the best gig of their lives. The sky was painted in soft streaks of orange and pink, like the clouds themselves had paused to watch the sunset. Cows lowed in the distance, slow and sleepy. Crickets had started up their nighttime band. And there was AJ, flopped in the grass, legs tucked, a bucket perched on his head like a medieval helmet. No explanation, no apology, just AJ being AJ. We sat in silence for a while, sipping hot chocolate. The kind with the slightly too big marshmallows that never quite melt, just float around like sugary icebergs. Steam curled from our mugs, catching the last of the golden light. Then Kaitlyn spoke, softly, like she didn't want to wake the moment. "We should do more," she said, "like help other kids share their stories, not just ours." I turned to look at her, caught off guard. "Like a writing club?" She nodded. "A digital one. We could read their stories out loud, give shoutouts, make it feel like everyone gets a voice. Like, if they've got something to say, we'll help them say it." I blinked, trying to take it in. That was big. That was good. "That's actually brilliant," I said. Kaitlyn smirked and nudged my mug. "Told you, I'm the brains, you're the voice, AJ's the chaos." We clinked mugs like it was a tea party on a royal balcony, even though hers had marshmallow gunk down the side, and mine had a chip from the time AJ sat on it. The sun dipped lower behind the barn, and I felt it. Right down in the part of you that knows things before your brain catches up. We'd started something small, but it wasn't going to stay small for long. We called it the Chronicles Kids Club. Not because we thought we were experts, but because we believed, really believed, that every kid had a story worth telling. Kaitlyn made the logo out of stickers, glitter glue, and the back of her science homework. It was a bit lopsided and absolutely perfect. I filmed a video, sat in front of a hay bale, microphone made from a paper towel tube, inviting kids from anywhere and everywhere to send us their stories. Funny ones, silly ones, real ones. And they did. Poems arrived from Portsmouth, comics from Cornwall. A full-blown space adventure featuring a laser-powered chicken came from a kid in Swansea who signed off as Commander Peep. Every time a new story landed in our inbox, we celebrated like it was Christmas morning and our birthday had teamed up. "People are writing," Kaitlyn said one afternoon, her arms full of stories like they were treasure maps. "Actual kids, sharing their brains," I grinned. "It's like a reading revolution." And then, right on cue, AJ sneezed, violently, sending a stack of carefully sorted poems flying into the rafters like confetti at a bookish wedding. We laughed until our cheeks hurt. Because, yeah, it was chaos. And yeah, the barn now looked like a stationery aisle had exploded, but every page that fluttered to the floor was a piece of someone's imagination, and we were the ones helping to build the place that held it all. That barn? It wasn't just a studio anymore. It was a launch pad. A clubhouse, a place where stories came to life, one brilliant, bonkers, beautiful page at a time. With all the new stories pouring in, we knew we had to do something more, something special. So we started a new video series and gave it a proper name, Chronicles Kids Read Alouds. Each week we picked one story from the bundle, a poem, a comic, a wild adventure about time-traveling vegetables, and read it out loud on camera. But this wasn't just sitting and reading. This was theatre. Farmyard theatre. I wore silly hats. Kaitlyn once wore a fake moustache so big it made her sneeze. And AJ? Well, he somehow managed to wear both at once. Don't ask how. He just did. We turned sock puppets into Shakespearean actors. We used spoons and rubber chickens for sound effects. One episode featured a dramatic reading set entirely to the squeaks of an old boot we found in the shed. And still, somehow, AJ managed to interrupt every single video. Walking straight across the stage, sniffing the mic, snoozing in the frame like it was his spotlight all along. But the best part? The comments. "That was my poem, thank you." Hearing it out loud made me feel famous. AJ stole the show. Every comment lit something inside us. Not just joy, but this spark of connection. We weren't just reading stories. We were lifting them off the page and giving them a stage to dance on. After one recording, Kaitlyn still wearing a cape made from a curtain, she looked at me and said, "We're making a stage where everyone gets to stand." And I looked back at her, the barn full of pages and props and AJ in a glittery hat, and thought, this stage, it's the best one I've ever been on. It was just another Saturday morning, or so we thought. The kind where you're still in pajamas, hair sticking out in 10 directions, editing a video about your pony sneezing 5 different ways. The usual. Kaitlyn and I were huddled in the shed, faces lit by the laptop screen, arguing about whether AJ's third sneeze should have dramatic music or a laugh track. We were mid-snort laugh when it happened. Ping. An email. Not spam, not a newsletter. A real email. From a publisher, a proper one, with a shiny logo and paragraphs. Real paragraphs, not just click here for discounts. I froze. Kaitlyn leaned in, and together we read the words that would change everything. "We've seen your videos. We love your energy. Let's talk." My heart thumped so loud I thought it might echo off the shed walls. I looked at Kaitlyn. She looked at me. We both screamed. Not just screamed, fell off our chairs screamed. AJ reared his head, panicked and promptly headbutted the ring light. The whole shed wobbled. Dad sprinted in, holding a piece of toast like a weapon. "What now?" he said, scanning the chaos. I held up the laptop. My hands were shaking. My face was probably stuck in a stunned smile. "We might be actual authors." Kaitlyn blinked. Her voice was quieter than usual. "Like bookshop books with barcodes? School libraries?" I nodded, barely breathing. And then something rare happened. She smiled. Not the usual bouncing off the walls grin, but a small, wide-eyed, wonder-filled smile. The kind that comes from realizing you're standing in the middle of a dream come true. She looked at me and whispered, "Carrie, we are the story now." And in that magical breath-holding moment, AJ didn't sneeze. He didn't chew the tripod. He just stood still, quiet, like even he understood. We were no longer just kids with a camera and a crazy pony. We were the story. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was nervous, not because I was scared, but because my heart was too full, like trying to hold a whole sunrise in your chest. I lay in bed, wrapped in the soft rustle of my blankets, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling like it held the next chapter. The lamp on my bedside table cast a warm glow, and just outside the slightly cracked window, the wind nudged the trees gently, like even the night was listening. And I thought, how did we get here? A cow, a crazy idea, a pony with a personality disorder. Somehow out of glitter, jam sandwiches and total chaos, we'd built something real. Not just a YouTube channel. A place, a space, a whole little universe, where stories mattered, where kids laughed until their bellies hurt, where AJ became internet royalty by accident and absolutely leaned into it. Downstairs I could hear Dad shuffling about, probably printing off more emails, probably humming the printer's off-key song like it was jazz. And Kaitlyn? She had already texted me her list, questions to ask a publisher. Can AJ come to the meeting? Do you validate glitter? Classic Kaitlyn. And me, I didn't write anything down, didn't film it, didn't turn it into content. I just lay there in the quiet, smiling in the dark, because somehow with a webcam, a notebook, and a best friend who never sat still, we found our voice. And now? Now we were ready. Ready to shout it from the hay bales, to beam it across screens and story times and classrooms and hearts. We were ready to share it with the world. The next morning we filmed one more video. No special effects, no sock puppets sword fighting behind a cardboard castle, no glitter explosions, no chickens in sunglasses. Just the two of us, me and Kaitlyn, sitting on our trusty hay bales in the barn. Sunlight poured in through the high window, soft and gold like it knew this moment needed to feel a little extra magical. "Hey crew," I said, my voice a little shaky, a lot proud. "We've got news." Kaitlyn didn't speak straight away. Instead, she held up a tiny chalkboard, her handwriting a little wobbly, a bit smudged from her thumb, but the words were clear as day. "We're writing a book." We told them everything. About the email, about the publisher, about the stories that started with a cow, a pony, and a big idea in a barn. But most of all, we told them about the crew. "You made this happen," Kaitlyn said, her blue eyes shining like someone had plugged her into a rainbow. "We started this for fun," she continued, "but you showed us it could be more." I looked at her. I really looked at my wild, brilliant best friend who once fell off a bucket yelling about YouTube fame. "So much more," I said. And then we smiled at the camera, not just as two kids with a channel, but as storytellers, dreamers, chronicle builders. And together we said it one last time, loud and proud, like it was stitched into our souls. Books, ponies, and belly laughs, thanks for being part of the Chronicles. Just then, as if rehearsed by fate itself, AJ wandered into the frame, wearing a paper crown, like a king, like a mascot, like the living, breathing exclamation mark at the end of our story. Perfect timing. And that's the end of our story for tonight. Thank you so much for listening, for dreaming with us, and for believing that the silliest little ideas, even ones that start in a dusty old shed, can turn into something magical. If you've got a story to tell, a dream to follow, or just a pony with a glitter habit, remember, your chronicles could be just beginning. Stay curious, stay kind, and keep chasing those big, beautiful dreams. because somewhere out there your own audience is waiting. Sleep tight, dream big, and from all of us here at Book at Bed, good night.